It needs to be stated, even though I've already said nothing has changed for the better regarding Western females. Nothing. Nothing at all. It's gotten worse. What I started talking about in 2011, 2012, Western women are destroying themselves, is no joke. That was 12 years ago. What has happened in the last 12 years? Have women gotten better? No. I, and many of us have talked about women, how they're bought and owned by corporate America. I've talked about this a lot, where women love to say, "You don't know me." Ah, but lassie, we do. You're addicted to SUVs, Starbucks, Netflix, yourself, your narcissism, your denial. You like to brand label and do clinical diagnostics on men, even though none of you are clinically qualified to do so. Oh, he has anger management. Trust and believe every one of those women saying that have anger issues. Don't believe me? Poke the bear and watch what happens. Stand your ground and confront them. Don't be obnoxious, but stand and tell them they're wrong and watch them go. Boom. They're going to blow. A friend of mine, we had a conversation yesterday, and I'm in no way attacking Better Bachelor. I'm certainly not trying to get his fan club or anything. He's got a far superior channel than mine. Mine is genuinely raw and real. I have my own niche. Better Bachelor has a good quality shtick. I listen to a lot of his videos. He has good insight. But he was talking about a 71-year-old retired football coach that married a 24-year-old girl, or dating her, something. I did not see the video, and Better Bachelor was saying, well, good for him. I'm not sure what tack Better Bachelor was taking. I don't know if Better Bachelor realizes that's definitely not a love relationship. I don't know too many 24-year-old good-looking girls that are going to fall in love with a 71-year-old man unless it's their grandpa and they have a family affection. But I see out of that the obvious. He gets good sex. She gets access to an awesome bank account. It's a mutual trade agreement. I mean, the Filipinas and older white men do this all the time. 60-something, pot gut, hair loss man is going to go overseas and get a hot Filipina and say, oh, this is my Pinay, this is my wife. She groans under the marriage, does not love him, but she will do anything to get free of the Philippines, free of the poverty, and yeah, probably a lot of cheating on the side that he doesn't know about. And I used to praise the Filipino women. I used to talk highly about them. But what you have to do, especially today, is give something time and let it go full circle. Filipinos are no longer flooding my social media with friend requests. I remember the infancy of Yahoo Chat, the stuff that went on with regards to social media was interesting. Filipinas would send me friend requests. Filipinas would, on their own, take their shirt off, take their bra off, throwing themselves at me and others in hopes that we would go all the way over there, get them, visa them, and bring them back. And at the time, I was so shocked by how beautiful the women were, how nice they were. And I failed to realize many of them were motivated by a bigger agenda. And I'm sorry to say this about the Philippines. Some of them are the nicest people. I have Filipino friends, males that I like. But a lot of Filipinos and Filipinas specifically, are opportunists. They will use an opportunity to ladder up to what they're looking for. But with the advent of TikTok, with the advent of Cash App, PayPal, and a host of other payment sites that you can install on your phone with an app, women can now stay in the Philippines, not go through the burdens of marriage, and they can make money taking off their clothes. They can make money doing sexy videos, doing this and this and this all day long in their bedroom. You have Prettiest Kitty Cat. You have women that will make their tits wiggle up and down. There's one, she's drop dead gorgeous. I believe she's Hispanic. She's got a puffy nipple, no bra. She loves to show her TTs. She's beautiful. But at the end of the day, I ask all these women, what do you hope to gain by this? Likes and loves and all these men saying how hot you are? It's amazing. Women are addicted to this. And I've been through my own. I have been through my own. I have talked to men and women that had admitted they got a certain high disrobing to, excuse me, a group of men and or women or both in a Yahoo chat room, watching the comments. Oh my gosh, you're hot. Wow, that's nice. Wow. Validation is grossly underestimated in our culture. The problem in Western culture is women want validation for the wrong thing. They want you to compliment them. Unless they're a rabid feminist that doesn't like you, they don't want you complimenting them. But now we have a generation of young ladies, all the way down to underage, that have found the power of no bra. And the response that it elicits by males. We're biologically wired to look at stuff that is shown, revealing, sensual, sexy. And I've said this before. Lust does not discriminate based on color, sex, or age, or monetary level. Lust likes what it sees. Facebook has taken the stance that these reels are not child porn. But let Pacific post a picture of a grown woman with the breast covered, but the pokies poking out, and I get shut down and jailed. Now you can put underage girls, you can post your daughter on there going like this. And her boobies rolling around and all this stuff. And that's not considered a violation of Facebook's community standards. Did I ever think 12 years ago that this would happen? And I bring this up because the envelope is being pushed. But my friend brought up something about Better Bachelor and said I was a little disappointed that he was encouraging the 71-year-old man, saying, okay, well, good for you. Now, I do not know where Better Bachelor's actual heart stance was on it, but I want to go further than Better Bachelor. Better Bachelor is a YouTube artist. Better Bachelor has a bigger following than me. The end of story. He has good content. Better Bachelor is probably going to have a hard time getting a girlfriend for the same reason a friend of mine does as well. He has told me that it's because of hair loss at an early age. And I had a friend years ago from Canada in Duluth that said he wore a baseball cap and he took his hat off one day. He said, Mike, women don't want to date me. Look at me. It was the sides and balding all the way down. I never thought about that as a man. I just thought men are men and there's always somebody for everybody. At church I currently attend, there's a beautiful white woman. They're both in the choir. They're both involved in music and worship. And he's got very thin hair, bald straight down the middle. They love each other. And my friend said, oh, they probably got married when he had a full head of hair. And I said, well, and it's possible that she married him when he didn't. The sad thing is there are women that will fall in love with a man purely for love's sake. The reality is because of our aggressive corporate America that is trying to sell something, spray on hair and toupees and wigs for men, And I'll never forget being in the back of the bus years ago when I was married. It was the Colfax or the number three limited, went down to Alameda, all through Aurora, all through Denver and Cherry Creek, and rushed to downtown. Several women that worked downtown, including my wife at that time when I was married, were laughing. I said, "What is so funny?" They said, "That man up there, he's got spray on hair." I said, "Wow, I didn't even notice." And they were quietly guffawing and laughing about it. We all know that men get mocked way more than women. Women can walk out in their pajamas, no one's going to say anything. Women can walk into a store with a damn dog in her arms. It's not a service animal, it's just they violate the rules because they can. But if you guys noticed school teachers having sex with 14-year-old boys with pimples on their face, y'all remember that woman in Washington had a marriage at a nice home and she got involved with that Asian boy? Did you ever hear about those women being a registered sex offender? Did you ever hear the story about the 18 or 19-year-old girl that got involved with a 14-year-old girl in a lesbian tryst? And it's my knowledge she did not get arrested. She was not placed on a sex offender list. And my friend and I had this discussion, and we've said this before. This is old hat, that our society is very anti-male unless you're a celeb. Now, I bring up Michael Jackson because the black community is very silent about him. When he died, his funeral and boohoo-ness over his leaving the world went on and on and on, and his contribution to society was absolutely nothing. He gave music. I like some of his music, but he did nothing for the good of humanity in a charitable sense. Michael Jackson served Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson made good money. Michael did whatever he wanted. He slept with 12-year-old Collie McCulkin. I'd be curious to know what that was all about. Now, if I was to have a 12-year-old black girl or white girl in my bed, or any girl at that age, my life is over. Sex offender. Do you ever see women on a registered sex offender list? You won't. It's only and always men. You think women don't sexually abuse kids? You don't think that old gym coaches and Battleaxe women were feeling up girls in the back of the gym? Of course they were. That's a fact. We talked about the court system. There's going to be a case brewing. My friend who lives in Boston knows a woman that he affectionately calls Ding Dong, stuck up woman who thought she was going to get married to somebody who, a Tom Brady or the Patriots. She's 53 years old. She has ruined her credit massively. She dated a guy for the sole purpose of getting knocked up and pregnant so that she could have a kid. Now it's 11 years later. She's in debt upwards of $20,000 and in serious trouble. She makes good money, but she can't manage it. Bought some Kia Solante or some SUV because girls are vain and they want to show off. She's not pretty. She's not a 10. She never was a 10. She was maybe a 7 at her best. Still stuck up. A Bostonian woman. My friend has informed me that Boston women are some of the worst. And I said, well, because you're dominated by Democrat politics. And we know about Democrat women. Look at AOC. Look at Ilana Maher. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at the arrogance. There's no humility in any Democrat woman. That it does not exist. Does not exist. And Boston is not the place to go get a date unless you got big fat bank accounts. She now is going after the guy from 11 years ago that created the girl at her coaching. Said, I don't want to date you. I just want a kid. It's too bad he didn't sign and notarize some documentation to that effect. You got sperm donors and they're not obligated to pay child support. This poor guy lives in California into management somewhere, probably makes decent money, and all of a sudden he's going to get a subpoena to go testify, probably in California, and be ordered to pay child support up to 20% of his income and backdated for the last 11 years. Now I feel sorry for the guy. I think that's bad. I think that's wrong. I think any judge should look her in the eye and say, why are you suddenly going after this? Let's look at your credit right now. Ah, okay, there's the motive. No, you did this. He's claiming that you did it because you wanted a kid, and I'm going to let that stand. He's not legally obligated, but do you think a judge is going to do that? Do you hear about the judge that threw out all those? Was it Columbia or Cambridge? I can't remember. All those silly little pro Mideastern protesters that broke into a campus building, left trash and plywood and crap all over the grounds, and the judge dismissed all the charges. Folks, when you're talking about voting, may I give you a recommendation? Every time you see judges running, vote them all out. Just vote no, no, no. You notice we don't know about them. We don't know if they're Democrat, Republican. We know nothing about the judges. And I take my cue from the late, great Jim Woodworth. I vote out judges every chance I get. They were arrested. They trespassed. They broke into school property, holed up in a wing of the building, and a judge just throws that stuff out. Probably anti-Semitic, a liberal. I had a personal experience where I had to go to court with a lousy neighbor, and the judge did not do a thing with 3 years of evidence by not just me, by animal control and other people in the neighborhood because she was black. No fines, no ordering of removal of the dogs. And he says, well, you need to get control of it. She continued with this crap for 3 months before 2 of the dogs went with the daughter, who knows where. I'm not even going to get started on that. Women have more rights than we do. I see it even in my current workplace. And I don't need to cite examples. I see where women can say things, do things, they get a free pass. This last year, I walked into one of our buildings where I work, and a woman was in there, and big woman, not pretty, and she kept showing her black bra, her stomach, and everything. And I said, really? What, you don't like it? Said, no, I'm not really into that. Let me walk out of the bathroom and take my shirt off in that room, and I'll be out of a job. I wouldn't believe it unless I saw it with my own eyes. I had a friend years ago who lived in New England. He's married to a plump wife. They were having problems. Every time they had a disagreement, she would shove him, hit him, push him. And he never called the police. Men generally don't. One day, she started an argument and came towards him, and he gently shoved her. She fell on the wall and got a superficial scratch. She called the police. Man, he got taken out of the apartment, had to go through all this stuff. And when he finally got out of the system and called me, I said, you need to divorce that woman and do not go back for more. Do y'all remember the thing we were taught as kids, those of us that are around my age? I'm pushing near 60 here. Girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. Actually, folks, there's nicer males today than females. I have a roommate that is one of the best in the world. I have not brought her on here yet. I've wrestled with that. I want to bring her on, but part of what she does, she's in a very public job, and with our views, we don't want any repercussions on her in her job. She's in a professional realm. She's not afraid of her views, but I don't want to put her in a position where it can jeopardize her job. People are getting into trouble for their views. I watched a video last night. Gentleman talked about down under, that they're passing laws about changing the behavior of men in Australia. In other words, they want to get rid of the assertive, aggressive, manly, testosteronic male. They want to make us wussies, pure and simple. And all that will do is allow them to get on social media and say, I don't agree with this lockdown. Oh, well, we're going to shut your computer down. You're going to go to jail. But go look up and see how many registered sex offenders are female. If you find one, let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong. Women never play around. And why would a grown school teacher get involved with a pimple-faced 14-year-old? I'm sorry, I drove a bus for years. 14-year-old boys are not mature, ever, period. End of story. And now they get to dive into the sexual arena with an adult woman. That is bad. I was reflecting, and I told my friend, do you realize I live in the deep, dirty South, as they call it? There was a time in this part of the country where girls could get married as young as 13, 14 years old. And why was that? Because it was an agrarian culture. For those that don't know what that means, it was farm-based. You had a lot of families had farms. 13-year-old daughter wasn't playing with dollies and doing selfies on TikTok. She was getting up with mom and doing laundry before the washing machines. Son was getting up and learning with father how to milk cows, drive the tractor, furrow the fields, plant corn. They weren't sitting around looking at porn and jacking off and whack-a-mole all day, playing video games in mother's basement. The culture back then made you grow up. A young woman was groomed to be a helpmeet for her husband back in the day. That's gone. That's gone. Now you got commercials showing arrogant, fake, blind. I say this all the time. Run away from women who have fake dyed blonde hair with all the roots showing, brown, black, whatever else it is. Run from them. They're not good material. They might make good lesbian porn videos. They're some of the best in the lesbian porn department. But as far as a wife, any woman that doesn't accept her natural hair color and got to put the blonde tells you everything you need to know about a woman. This is Pacific's express opinion. This is thrown in for free. I don't want to be involved with a woman who can't accept her natural hair color that she was born with. They act and think and behave the same. I cannot believe everywhere I go in this country, women that get up in the morning, roll out of bed in their little flannel jammy bottoms, hair pulled up in a big old ratty tie with all the blonde streaks and the brown roots. And you look at their faces and you listen to them talk, and they are a cookie cutter stamp, factory mass produced. There's no mystique, no intrigue. And for them to say, you don't know me, but I do. Once a gingerbread cookie, always a gingerbread cookie. Run, fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. America has corporately conditioned women to be groupthink, sheeple, all get on the bandwagon about something. I mean, look at how we've gone. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, has anybody looked at her face? Study the countenance of females. Listen to the voice inflections of females. Pay attention to those things. Those things alone should make you Put up in your own mind, do not enter, proceed no further, stay back 50 feet, not responsible for damage to your windshield, stay back. Voice inflections, child directed speech, run. When you look at women today and how they are bought and owned by corporate America, when you get that, you will finally know this isn't wife material. This is not date material. Women are immature. They're materialistic as a rule. And they're easy to manipulate by their feelings only, not logic, not common sense, not rational thought. And they get pumped up by the notion that because they went to college, that they're suddenly McEducated. I drove a school bus for years, and I bring this up because Americans fail to realize that some of the greatest education does not come from inside the classroom. It comes from life. Years ago, I dated a black woman in Denver, Colorado, at my workplace. She said, I notice all these other Hispanic women that are not so nice to you are suddenly being nice to you. I said, yeah, I noticed that too. What's that all about? She goes, because you got street cred because you're dating a black woman. They were shocked. I got more street cred now living in this godforsaken place. And it's sad that women will not look at a guy from a heart-based thing at all. I encourage relationships. I have a friend in Ohio. He was involved for years with a Chinese woman. He moved back to the States. That relationship just eventually fell apart for many, many reasons. One of which being that she was pro CCP, and he said, no, no, no. That's the Chinese Communist Party. He's currently involved with a woman from Afghanistan. She wants to be with him. She is Muslim. I don't encourage anybody dating a Muslim at all. That's not a religion that you can easily get the upper hand over. But I have a belief if somebody wants to be around you and they're not pulling you down with the crab bucket mentality, forbid them not. Now, the Bible talks about being unequally yoked. I would caution dating somebody who believes in a false belief system, especially Islam, Allah, and the Quran. Islam is not just a neutral religion, it is a dangerous religion. It has sponsored terrorism and wrong thinking and wrong behavior. And what's really ironic is to watch women in our culture today that are rabid feminists and all about doing whatever they want, supporting and being friendly to Muslim women. Do Islamic women and feminism have a lot in common? Absolutely. They're both militant. But feminists in America fail to realize that Islam is about stamping on women's rights. Feminists aren't as smart as we thought they were. You have to wear the hijab. You have to cover up your faces in many places. They can't get a driver's license. They can't vote. They can't do things. And feminists just pay no attention to that. But feminists vote in Ilhan Omar, which is literally a pro-terrorist Middle East woman. No one should be encouraging and praising a 71-year-old against a 24-year-old. We know that naturally speaking, and I asked my friend, is the 71-year-old GQ? Is he good looking? He says, no. He looks like a retired truck driver. He said, I'm not taking shots at truck drivers, but he's out of shape and he's not. And you know, women today, they don't fall in love with somebody on a heart level. Just as men are motivated by biology, women are motivated by a wallet. And why is it that women's sins are always downplayed? Women driving drunk and killing children, going 80 in a high-powered car and going back to their mansion and saying, "Oh, it was a mistake." And I've said it before, a lot of women have no conscience. None, especially right here in this country. And nothing has changed in 12 years. It's gotten worse. If you don't believe me, look at the hypocrisy of Nancy Pelosi. Goes on and on about January 6th. But Nancy Pelosi can sit there as a grown adult and rip up a copy or a facsimile of the State of the Union address and throw shredded paper everywhere like a toddler. Let a kid do that in a school while the teacher's speaking and shred their homework in front of the teacher. The kid's going to get in trouble, called out. But Nancy Pelosi embodies what many American women embody: blatant and latent immaturity. Then they get away with it. Do you ever notice the term Karens? Do you ever notice who Karens are? It is a demographic. It isn't men. It isn't Black women. It isn't Hispanic women. It's Caucasian women. Self-righteous, would tell everybody what to do, act up on an airplane, act up in a store. There was a heavy guy, looked like a plumber, came into a store to get something. He did not have a mask on. During the 2020, nobody apparently told him, you got to have the mask on, whatever. He walked in the store, get his thing, and a woman come up with her phone, got up in the guy's face, no 6 foot of social distancing. And he's like, he was leaning over against somebody, turned around and says, "What are you doing?" "I'm filming you." "Why?" "You don't have a mask." He goes, "Okay, well, why are you getting up close to me then?" The woman was provoking this bear of a man. The Bible says something. It says, "Fathers, do not embitter or provoke your children to wrath." What women fail to realize, that also applies to all of us. None of us is supposed to provoke somebody to wrath. And you got these women out there, "Oh, you're not wearing a mask. I don't know you, but I'm going to get up in your face." Lady, how do you know that guy doesn't just go, "Bye, biatch"? Why would you do that? You're not the police. You're not the mask patrol. MP, baby. Driving a school bus is looked down on by many, many people that make big money in the U.S. This school bus driver, oh my gosh. But that is my office, or was, excuse me, and looking through the windshield, it was amazing what I saw. College-educated women running through my stop sign. I honk the horn when there's kids in the street, and they go like this to me. College educated. They got their Semper Fi and all their crap on the back. Are women really better because of college? Are women really better than men? They say that girls mature faster than boys. Only in the sense of tits, nipples, and menstruation, folks. Here? Mm-mm. When I was in Denver and I had a middle school bus and the kids were really good, I bought the assorted lunch-sized chips. More boys thanked me than girls, and there was a lot of girls on the bus. Girls are less likely to say thank you and use manners in the continental United States. I was walking through the flea market the other day. I saw Hispanic girls with long hair. They were staring at my chain. I had my muscle shirt on. And you look, and their eyes look you up and down, and then they go, the snub. I thought, teenagers, get a free ride like welfare. Mom and dad are paying for them. They got their phone. They got everything, and they think they're all that on a stick, and they contribute nothing thing to the gross domestic product of anybody. But I'm so stressed. Girls grow up with a princess mentality, and to every one of you men that calls your daughter your princess, shame the fuck on you. You created the monster. Your daughter is your daughter, not your princess. Somebody posted on their Facebook the other day, it is a beautiful thing when a man is committed to his woman. And I put ... and it is a beautiful thing when a woman is committed to her man. Oh, women get so mad at that. See, you always want to slam men in your Facebook post, and one of us comes back and chimes in, and here we go with the waving of the arms and the I saw something the other day. I was trying to find out what happened to two relatives that had passed away, and I didn't know it until I saw my father's obituary. And when I pulled up on social media, I happened to bring up something by his wife, the mother who adopted me, and she had posted something that she had written in regard to her sister who passed. And let me give you a little background. So my mother and my aunt had a very good relationship, so much so that we had lived in Torrance. Aunt and uncle lived in Lomita. Then aunt and uncle moved to Mammoth Lakes. Then we moved to Mammoth Lakes a couple years later. They did everything together. They were into pottery. They both had the potter's wheel. That was the big thing back in the 70s. And growing up, my cousin and my sister and I were in the backseat of the car with auntie and mama. My aunt had opened up the only shoe store in a town of 2,500, the Complete Foot. She was successful. She was business acumen savvy, and she started a successful business. People no longer had to drive to Carson City or Bishop to get shoes. My mother was employed there. And one day I had come home from school, and my mother said, "Hey, I don't want you walking by Uncle's sporting goods store or Auntie's shoe store." And I said, "Why?" "Well, I got a job. A friend of mine opened up a shoe store on the other side of town, and I'm working for her." And I said, "Really? You're working for the competition of your sister?" I mean, I was in, ninth grade, and I'm like, wow, that's like throwing a fresh dog turd in a punch bowl at a party of dignitaries. That's not going to go over well. I mean, as a kid who had my own problems, I'm looking at my mother going, "What you talking about, Willis?" So I followed her instructions. I came from school straight home and plopped my butt in a leather chair and watched Scooby-Doo after school. The good Scooby-Doos. One day I was downstairs. I heard a knock at the door, went to open the door. My auntie come in. "Hello, Michael. You might want to stay downstairs." Okay. She was pissed. She came in, stomped up the stairs, and I heard this. "What the fuck are you doing to those children of yours?" Michael and his sister used to come by and visit me and visit my husband, and they're not coming by. And then I find out you're working for somebody else's shoe store. How could you do this? And my mother had this classic way of sound like a Furby or something. And I would stand at the edge of the hall. There was the doorway at the edge of the hall that spilled out into the stairwell, which was open all the way up to the upstairs with a rail up there. It was a ski house. So it was, built in the 1969. It was cedar and wood and beautiful house with open rafters. So we could hear everything. And Gene and I were standing right there, heard the whole thing. And my aunt was pissed, and rightfully so. You don't do stuff like that in a small town. You don't shame your sister. What my mother did was so unwise. My aunt is dead now, but my aunt was good to me. My aunt loved me. My aunt had a soft spot in her heart for me. My aunt knew that there was things going on in that home that were off the wall wrong with my mother. Then my aunt was developed after her husband had divorced her. He is still alive. I'm still in touch with him, my uncle. My mother would talk crap about my aunt. My last involvement with my aunt was 2009. I drove to the Spokane airport, picked up my aunt, who I had not seen in years. I had my little red express back then, my Ford truck, and I took her to Red Lobster. I had seen her. I wanted to bless her. We had a good lunch. Little did I realize that was the last time I would have involvement or see my aunt. She died several years later. She was on her medication. She was in her right mind. And on the 70-mile ride through towns like Chewelah and 395 going to Colville, I opened up. And I said, "Do you remember when mom did that little thing when you hired her to work at the shoe store?" And she goes, "Oh, yes, I remember that very well." I said, "I remember when you came in the house, you were pissed." And we'd had a talk about my mother. My mother's still alive and to this day is in complete denial. She has a very close relationship with her natural blood-born daughter. And none of the women in my family care about me, have not cared about me, don't even at all, except for gossip's sake. Where did he move? What's he doing? None of them has made any effort. None of them has ever said, we did him wrong. I'll never forget when I worked at a place called Coronado Technology. I don't even know if it exists anymore. They made truck top covers for deuce and halves, military canvas tops. And I heard some stoner behind me. The guy was a trip. I'd be doing my job. He'd be back there yelling and cussing and carrying on. And one day he says, "How come women can shit all over society and come out smelling like a damn effing rose?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's a stoner mess." But I never forgot what he said. So my mother had posted something on social media years ago that when I was looking for a lost relative, I'm like, "What is this? I thought of you today. The memories we once shared, the good times we had." Some meme that she picked up, and she put her sister's name and said, "I love you." And I thought, oh my gosh, like CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, NPR, fake news. I know my mother. I know what she did. When my aunt was bipolar, when my aunt went through the New Age movement, my mother downed her. She freely and openly talked about her, dissed her in front of all of us. They called her Auntie Moonbeam. She went through a stage where she wouldn't show up to family gatherings on time. Dinner's ready and we're all waiting. And that was irritating. But this was my mom's sister. And when I moved to Duluth, my mother complained that she was living with grandma and she wasn't doing anything and raising a family of ducks in grandma's bathtub. And I got all this stuff. And one day it took guts for me to finally say, "You know what? Keep me out of all this crap." My last meeting with my aunt, taking her Red Lobster and the drive, will always be a pleasant memory for me. My aunt loved me. My uncle Harris testified this day, "She cared about you." And I said, "And I know that. It showed." And he says, don't ever underestimate. She full well knew what was going on in that home. She knew about that ugly side of your mother. I said, but why did she turn on her own sister like that before my aunt had ever even been diagnosed with the bipolar? She had an antique store in Mammoth. She had a shoe store. She was successful. The community liked her. She was a teacher for a while. When we had the sixth grade slave auction, they would auction us off as slaves to raise money for our end of the year graduation trip to Disneyland, 300 miles away. When all the stud muffins and the cute girls were bid on 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks. And it came to my turn and I'm standing on stage and the kids are laughing. Look at Nelson. Nobody's going to want Nelson. My aunt steps up. $100. I was standing there going, oh, my aunt just whipped them all. Nobody said a word in that school. My aunt did something that I will never forget. She sent a message loud and clear. I'm not ashamed of that young man with the thick glasses and the tousled red hair. That's my nephew. My mother did not have a love like that. Yes, my mother raised me. My mother tried to find out about food allergies, but my mother did not have patience for Michael. My mother is not any changed human being to this day. She smoked herself like a chimney and she's still hanging on. I'm just surprised. And the obituary about my father was obviously written by her. The silly little nickname she gave herself, Gummy, calling me Unca Munca. And I said, Mom, don't call me Unca Munca. That's so stupid. Well, that's what the kids don't call me that. You did. And the other day I revisited. I still have some scars from that. And why do I bring this into this video? Because there's nothing out there. There's no shows. There's nothing in the media. There's nothing out there about the shit that men go through at the hands of women. Nothing. October's a whole month dedicated to breast cancer awareness, find the cure. Mother's Day's made a bigger deal of it. If you get some immature woman whose husband left her or didn't want to stay with her, whatever, had a kid, and she goes, well, I might as well wish myself a happy Father's Day. Nice try, girl, but you're not a father, so quit. And it is a fact. When I drove bus, whether it's in the black community or the white community, women left alone to raise the kids don't do very well, 99% of them. Boys especially, disrespectful, spoiled, nasty, get up in my face, get up in teacher's face. The same ones that'll get up in a cop's face and end up getting shot because they don't follow directives. I see the importance of a family. Yeah, I grew up in a family, but dysfunctional is all get out. And I thought I turned that stupid thing off. My uncle left me a voicemail after I went to bed last night. I'll have to check. To see this flowery post by my mother and the words, I love you, after my aunt was gone was nothing but showboating, grandstanding, fake news, and bullshit. You can fool people, but you can't fool children. I grew up watching what my mother did. I grew up watching the example she set before all of us. My aunt had more integrity, business acumen, and she went out and made a living while my mother sat on my dad's income and treated him like absolute crap. Having a room built on the back of the house he bought every house for her. She got dissatisfied, wanted to move to another house, buy a condo, buy this. My mother was a high maintenance, impossible to please woman, and my dad stepped up to the plate, did it. And the only thing I feel sorry for, my daddy's gone now. is that he did not have a good wife. He didn't deserve. My mother, the reason that I was adopted because she pushed and wanted her way. I ask the question all the time, what was the purpose of me growing up in this family for? I have no closeness to any of them. My uncle, my cousin, that's it. I have no influence or affect on my family in a positive way. They talk crap about me, they believe crap about me, and there's no changing them. My mother did not teach me how to balance a checkbook, how to buy a home, how to do a thing. She modeled before me a very dysfunctional way of interacting with a man who loved her, now deceased. And women out there all day long in this society are stuck up, immature, rude. They fail to grow up. They go to college, they get a job, they get a car, they can't drive the car properly. They can and will not follow the rules. I watched a video where a Hispanic girl took a Super Duty 350 and parked in front of the guy's driveway. And the guy come out and he says, I need to get out. I have an emergency and you're blocking my drive. Well, you can wait. I'm getting my child. He goes, no, you need to move. She's walking around on her phone, Sagwa School. I don't know where this is, but the neighbors are complaining about the rude parents, women, rude parents that block the school zone, get up in their way, school buses only. I went through this as a bus driver. No parking, school buses only. Every woman in Denver ignores the sign. When I look at my school bus, what I see with American women is they are highly dysfunctional, highly entitled, highly disobedient to rules. And no man's going to tell them otherwise. I'd tap the horn. Hey, I got 70 kids back here. Can you move so I can get in and unload them? Oh, no, 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 no. They should have never allowed women to vote in this country. That's why we're in the shithole we're in with the Democrats. When women champion for the right to murder their child, and you as a man want to date a woman like that, you're a fooked up individual. That you would support a woman, I don't care how pretty she is, that would kill. The Bible talks about in 2 Timothy 3, without natural affection. And people try to tie that to the homosexual thing. No. Did you know that God has built within a woman to have natural affection to the child within her? And she can just kill it and go out and have a drink that evening? How about a once friend of mine in Duluth who watched The Passion? I never got caught up in all that. Mel Gibson, it's just the fatism of our day. He said, there were two women in front of me. Christ is being crucified. He said, it's awful to watch. And they're sitting there with buckets of popcorn. Women are heartless, cruel, and nasty. They don't know how to dress. They're obsessed with dyeing their hair blonde. And why do we go crazy after that? Why do we biologically look at that and go, oh my God, I got to have that? What is wrong with us? And there is power and discipline that comes when you can look right over, around, and through them and go, you know what? I don't got time for you. I'm working on my house. I got a job. Get the hell out of my way, lady. I have a roommate. I did not ask her to do this. She cooks dinners for me. And she's very good. She does things. There's no sex, no fooling around, no feeling up, no kissing, none of that. And I'm shocked. She's Caucasian. You will not find Caucasian women out there in mainstream society like her. And people will go, oh, man, maybe you should marry her. Maybe not. I think the best thing for me is to have a platonic relationship with a female where I'm not sexualized. It's a very good thing to be involved in. And she shocks me. She gets up pleasant every day. She doesn't have that rest me biatch face. I have never met a woman with a disposition like this in my entire nearly 60 years. And I'm glad I had that last ride with my aunt. We went to Red Lobster, had a nice lunch, we had a nice talk. And my aunt believed in me, even with all my mistakes. She always encouraged me. My mother was nasty. She doesn't have bipolar, but sometimes I wonder. I don't miss her. I don't have any feelings of warmth towards her. When she dies, I'll have no feeling about it, just like with my father. I read the obit. Some of it was not accurate. I was so tempted to slam a comment in there. I said, no, you're not going to do that. Because your sorry ASS family will read that and it will energize them again. Did you see that? Did you see what get on the phone and start up the shit again? The thing that gives me satisfaction is the day that my mother stands before the Almighty God in all her Catholicness, and God's going to say to her, depart from me, I never knew you. My mother has this belief that everybody she likes is all in heaven. It's not the way it works, Toots. That's not what the book says. It's funny how women want to rewrite, thus saith the Lord, that their feelings dictate well over truth. My mother had no conscience about the way she treated me, no apologies. I thought, wouldn't it be nice in her 80s if she and I were able to reconcile? Wouldn't that be awesome? Absolutely. What would be better is if she found Jesus, got saved. I'd welcome her with open arms. I was out there taming my yard. After 4.5 years, I finally tamed the jungle back there. Every time I go back there, I get an outbreak of poison ivy. It was horrible. Your instinct is to scratch. I learned don't scratch. I tried that stupid calamine lotion. Doesn't work. The fastest way to stop weeping and oozing was to get cider vinegar and a Q-tip and dab every one of those sores. It was the fastest at drying it out. And then smear aloe. I have real aloe plants in my green room, and I smear that stuff on. It would clear it up much faster. Trim the trees above head height, cut everything back to the fences, made dump runs, burned stuff. But there was stuff on the ground, bits of garbage. The cats and dogs come in there, and squirrels, and piss back there and poop. And it's been very hot, drying hot, which is unique for this place. Normally it's so humid. And I raked up all that crap little by little. Every time I go and do my yard, little by little, I'm advancing. I had to do it in increments. Couldn't see the poison ivy. What is getting on me that's causing all this outbreak? And I couldn't see it. I saw the ivy, but it didn't match the picture description. Was it sumac? Was it oak? Who knows? But whatever, I can walk back there. I can run the mower all the way to the outer perimeters of my yard. And when those little thorny, nasty vines go up, I mow them down. It feels good to get control of a bad situation. I can't do that with my mother. I can't do that with what women are doing in society. All you can do is steel yourself against those kind of women. Carry yourself in such a way that you do not need them nor recognize them. It's sad, but women get away with more. And all this boo-hooing and whining about wage discrimination is a lie. A lie. Nothing has changed, folks. It's got worse. Women can get involved with underage boys. You ever see them on a sex offender list? Women make men feel bad for having an interest in them. And there's a man in California that's going to get a shock when an immature, arrogant, legend in her own mind, boring, blase, immature woman, because of her own inability to manage her finances, got deep into credit card debt, is going to come after him with revenge. Even though she wanted him simply for a cum dump to produce a child. Thus, passing the baton of this insane behavior, the way women treat men, to her daughter, who will do the same. Squared. The sad thing is, looks are so powerful to us. Lust is as powerful as being on alcohol or drugs. You are under the influence. And how often we make bad decisions because of that. To look past the cleavage, the sexiness, and actually listen to what she's saying and to look at her countenance and her body language. Look back to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And women are not going to agree with me, and I don't care. An ugly female. Her face looks like a demon. Supporting and championing women's rights to murder their children is not an honorable profession. Only in America do we take a serial killer woman or one who supports serial killing of abortion, and give her star status. And it's funny because 10 minutes after the child is born and that child is thrown in a dumpster, women are outraged at that. 10 minutes before, when the saline solution goes in to kill the baby, that's okay for now. Why would we listen to women that all follow each other like Chinese soldiers? Oh, yep, got my hair dyed blonde. Yep, bought my SUV. Yep, pay $7 for Starbucks. Why do we listen to them? They're easily manipulated by emotions. The need to have all this crap that they don't need. To get behind the current event of murdering your child and saying it's my choice. And a man is going to get the bomb drop when he's ordered by a sickening, perverted justice system to pay for the last 11 years of Ding Dong's illegitimate child. They used to have actually a word for that, BASTARD, child born out of wedlock. And I feel bad for this guy. You think he can go into court and say, no, she told me that she didn't want to date me, that she just wanted a child. And guess what? I can hear it now. Well, you brought a child in the world, so you're responsible. Oh, you guys should have had that done up legally and in writing. This woman is nasty. She's given nothing good to society. Nothing. Nothing at all. She is mothering a girl and not a good example for the girl. Women rate themselves extremely high. I don't. I say it like it is. They can't drive. They can't do anything. But they go to work all day and, oh, I had to work so hard. Huh, who cares? You can't cook. You can't do anything for a man anymore. And you walk around saying, I'm so good. I want a Brady's football player or a Patriots football player. Isn't that funny? She's still without that. There's not any celeb status that's going to go after her. Years ago, when my son was a little tyke, I took him to the children's story time hour at the Jefferson County Library, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Met a lot of other mothers that were very nice to me, befriended me. And one day, I saw a woman pull up in a big excursion, get out with a couple kids. She came to me, hey, you here for the story time? I said, yep. She was a 10. She said, I'm a trophy wife. I said, really? She goes, yep. I'm married to one of the Denver Broncos players. And I asked her, how was that? Very nice lady. Very beautiful. I mean, sex appeal right up there. Way more than ding dong. And I thought to myself, these guys that got the money, they're not going to choose a ding dong. They're not going to choose. And when I was at Denver Public Schools, there were bus monitors that were not 10s at all. They might have been 5 pushing it. No money, no honey. I want a man who's rich. Okay, a wealthy man's going to come down to Denver Public Schools and say, I want to bury a bus monitor. I see that happening. Cannot. The inflation of a woman's ego knows no bounds. It's like they're on something that they actually believe that they're going to get that. And I actually met a trophy wife. Nice as all get out to me. Yeah, he bought me this. The excursion. She wasn't like Ding Dong, a snarky little biatch that thought she was all that. She was actually down to earth. Stunning looks. No fake blonde hair. Natural breastises. Hey, I would have dated her. She was available and I wasn't married. But men, they're going to play the money game and buy love, are not going to choose a ding dong. They're not going to choose a bus monitor. They're going to choose the best of the best. Not some Bostonian biatch. You can't get through to these women. There's no use in trying. Men need to rally together. Men need to be outspoken. Men need to form their own support group and have nothing to do with these chicks. God. Now you got women getting on there telling men no fat. Okay, that's laughable. Women are going to tell us about being sexually pure. Okay. When's the next clown coming in? This ought to be good. Men are shit shamed for having an attraction towards a woman by women that don't want to attract my or other men's attention because we don't have enough money. And I'm going to say it. Pacific is better looking nude than any of these damn high maintenance women are for my age. And these women think that they're all that. They don't cook, they don't clean, they can't manage their finances, and they think that they deserve a Tom Brady. And we saw how well that all ended. Tom Brady married a foreign woman, and she got pissed at him because he wouldn't spend any time with her. We saw what happened with Tiger Woods when he married a Swedish woman. She walked away with a lot of money from Tiger Woods' portfolio. The term justice does not mean justice anymore. It is a two-tier system. Women get away with stuff in the workplace, the church house, the state house, the schoolhouse, the roadways. They got the upper hand in child custodial disputes, alimony, child support. And some man's about to get walloped upside the head with a baseball bat that doesn't even know it's coming by some angry, immature woman in Boston that can't manage her finances. And I've said this before. Stay away from Caucasian women as a general rule. When they get revenge, they will not stop until they have your head on a platter. They're that nasty. Do not fuck them. Do not involve with them on any level. She told him, I just want a baby. You think she's going to stand on integrity and say, I told him I only wanted a baby. I shouldn't do this. No. Her feelings drive her thinking. And we're not going to call it emotionally driven logic anymore because it's not logic at all. We're not going to put that word in there. That's an oxymoron. She's a nasty, vendetta woman that, damn it, I fucked up my finances. Everybody else is going to pay. Immature. Wearing her little white gloves and her polka dotted dresses, and it's disgusting. American women are dead. In bed, out of bed. Their Facebook posts are littered with foolishness. My own mother in her 80s posted this complete bullshit, making everybody out there think that she misses her sister. Yeah, right. Did my mother ever apologize to her about the shoe store fiasco? What I know about my mother? Probably not. Even my aunt came out to Arizona to be near her sister. My aunt had her problems. I'm not excusing that. But my aunt loved me. She sewed it in 6th grade. When you had a bunch of foolish kids at Mammoth Elementary that thought they were the bomb, that harassed and bullied me when I never did anything to them. And the highest dollar amount paid for the 6th grade slave auction was for Pacific by my aunt. And man, inside I thought, girl, you rock. You see, modeling has a profound effect, more than words. Lots of love, mom and dad. I love you. said my mother, when she walked out of the only shoe store in town and her friends started a competing shoe store and she didn't have the guts to sit down and talk to my aunt. And even if you didn't want to work with your own sister, why would you go to the competition? My mother did crap like that all the days of our life. Made a scene in the car on spring break. My aunt and uncle came over. We had our spring Easter dinner and cleaned up. Mom, dad, my sister and I got in the car and headed to Carson City. My mother was in a pouty funk. Woke up the next morning in the motel, pouty funk. My dad saying, Tia, Tia. And my mother, in her great maturity, continued to ignore and rude. And you see this on the buses. You see this with teen girls. They can be in a moody, pouty, oh, you're so stressed. Oh my God, your life is so hard. Really? You didn't do anything. You got up and you're just an emotional bombshell. Girls get away with far more in this culture than boys do. Oh my gosh. It's disgusting. It is wrong. It is angering. All you manginas and white knighters and simps. You tell your daughter she's your princess. Shame on you. You puff up their little silly heads to continue this behavior. There is no such thing as a princess in American culture. All you do is enable them to become the stuck-up, self-serving, entitled women that they've become. They won't stay out of a bus zone. No parking, buses only. It's amazing how bold and brazen women are. I cannot stand on the letter of the law with women like that. They will not say, you know, you're right. I'm sorry. I'll get out of the way. People laughed at me because I drove a school bus. I had a black woman on Mate 1 years ago out of LA. I thought, wow, she's cute. I messaged her. I said, you're really pretty. She messaged me back. Thank you. I looked at your pictures. You're handsome yourself. What do you do for a living? I said, I drive a school bus. Oh my God, you drive a school bus? Oh my gosh. No, 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 no. And yes, that exists in the black community. No money, no honey. American woman, get away from me. Wasn't that sung by a black artist? He pegged the pulse. He pegged the pulse right there. And we do need to talk about this. It is better to be a bachelor. Do not, for the love of God, get married. And if you do, Pacific is finally at the point, get a prenuptial. But even then, that doesn't guarantee anything. Women will always have the last word. My mother did not love her sister. Love doesn't do those kinds of things. I understand that two are going to have their disagreements, okay? But actions. The reason my mother will not talk to me or communicate with me is because she knows deep in her heart I stand as a wall. She never figured I'd get my own mind, my own will, and contradict her. It's easy for her to safely say, well, Michael was flibbity gibbet. You know, he got off his diet, and Michael this and Michael that. She fails to realize that by her inappropriate and wrong way of raising me, she taught me to be a critical thinker. She taught me to learn how to problem solve with no help, thanks to her. Deep calls to deep. And when Pacific was faced with all of the problems with this house and this world out here, it finally hit me one day. Okay, you're not in a freaking diaper. Nobody's going to hold your hand and take you to the toilet now. They're not going to lift you in your high chair. You got to do this, man. So, from that point of view, maybe my mother did me a favor. I'm speaking out against women because of what I went through. If I had this perfect little family, I'd be guilty of thinking, what are you guys talking about? Women are great. My mother taught me that wasn't her intent. My grandmother used to have on her fridge, the one on my dad's side, if a child lives with criticism, he'll learn to criticize. Little did my grandmother realize she criticized everybody all the time. And when I finally learned to criticize rightly, watch this, folks. Watch this. Keep your eye on the ball. Sleight of hand. Nobody's looking at what this one is doing. You're watching this. Women like to post cutesy sayings, and everybody says, yes, amen. Yes, I like that. They get an orgasm off of that. They don't model any of it. I thought of you today. The memories we once shared. Did you really think of her? Did you think about how you kicked her in the groin, left her shoe store, went to the competition, didn't have a mature talk with her, and then encourage your kids to stay away from her store? That was our ritual. At least it was mine. I'd walk up Main Street, stop at Uncle's. Sometimes he'd have me shovel snow for a couple extra bucks off the deck, put the skis away. I went up, hey, Auntie. She loved seeing me. And I loved seeing her because she was always a breath of encouragement. She was the more beautiful of the two sisters, in every sense of the word. I miss my auntie. It's too bad that she had bipolar. It's too bad that she had problems and really struggled. And what bothers me is based on her beliefs. I don't believe I'm going to see her in the kingdom. And that bothers me. But I'm here to tell you that the power of a female that loves you and models something and is willing to throw $100 at her nephew in front of a bunch of little brat-ass kids and make a statement in front of the whole alumni and the people at the school. I don't care what any of you all say. Michael Nelson is important to me. Silence was deafening by the little brats that I went to Mammoth Elementary School with. One of them was a teacher's son, got away with more shit than you can shake a stick at. Good old BL, that's all we're going to call him. First and last initial, and he would come up behind me and drill me in the sides. And I hated that. It'd tickle you, it'd shock you. And I said, man, stop doing that. And one day he did it so hard that without even thinking, instinct, my head went back and popped him in the nose like a fist punch. His nose started gushing red. Man, Nelson, you gave me I said, I told you to stop doing it. Now maybe you'll learn. Dumbass. I didn't say that back then. He never did it again. Kids suck. And why are they like that? Because they got a sin nature, but their parents too. But the reason girls are the way they are today is because of shitty parenting, even in white middle class circles, spoiling their girls, calling them princess, accommodating their self-centered narcissistic egos. How about the minivan moms rushing them to sports and, oh, my daughter is a bitch. My daughter is a bitch. My daughter is a bitch. My daughter is a stuck-up bitch. And see, they don't like me because I'll call it what it is. Yeah, she gets good grades. She's great at sports. She's a bitch. And the problem with modern parenting, the modern white Caucasian culture, is we have manufactured in cargo ship loads bitches. Stuck up, conceited. I'm not worthy of any of these women. Correction, Your Honor. None of these women are worthy of me. None of these women can do what Pacific can do. They would wipe me out financially, emotionally, without a conscience, without a shred of guilt. Users and abusers. And you want to support women to support abortion? Something wrong with you. And somebody to be as bold as I am, we're seeing a turnaround today. You got two types of people: those that get very angry and rail against me, and those that back up like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's good. They should back up, because we are allowing people to run all over us. Men, we're allowing black culture to run all over whites. We're allowing Democrats to be bullies and do whatever they want. I don't care what these damn Republicans say. They're not doing shit to stop what Washington do. They have the right to storm. And when I say storm, I'm not talking about Jan 6th and what the Democrats have turned that into. President Biden should be removed from office. AOC and Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is an anti-Semitic. She should be fired for racism against Jewish people. AOC should be fired for the statement she made. Anybody who voted for Trump, a list should be made. They should be denied employment. Where does it say that in the Constitution? She does not represent American ideals. She does not model American ideals. She has the makings of a dictator. You either go my way or the highway, and that's women summed up in American culture. Don't get in my way to get to Starbucks. Don't get in my way for my love relationship with my dog. All those women that love dogs, stay away from them. Dogs are dirty, nasty, lick their butts, lick their penis, lick their vagina, lick the toilet, lick dead things, and then they come up and lick your face. And women now curl up with them, live in the bed with them. Men, if you're so stupid that you bow to that, you get what you deserve. It's a beast. I don't believe in abusing animals, but come on, it's a freaking dog. This pet obsession is just more systemic pandemic, to use a Democrat word, of how immature, how pointless American women are. They're not passionate about a man. They're not passionate about love. They're in love with themselves. They're in love with money, and they're in love with their dog. What more do you need, men, to get the proverbial no? It is better to go home and rub one out to some image of the fantasy that you cannot have than to involve yourself with this and have far more reaching, damaging consequences. The Bible says, it is not good for man to live alone. I will make a helpmeet or a helper suitable to him. Go out there and look at women today and ask how many of them are helping their men. Zero. There are some marriages out there that are really good, that are reciprocal, but very few. Most men live in a private hell, afraid to leave for fear of the outcome financially. I know. I talk to men at the steam bath, afraid to leave their nasty wives. I'm too old, man. I don't want to start all over. I don't want her cleaning me out. American women are a roto-rooter and will clean your drain, baby. This is not my opinion. Looking through a school bus windshield has given me more education than these fat and sassy, stuck-up women ever did in college. You can fool people of who you are until they see how you drive your car. College doesn't teach that. College empowers women to be activists and radicals and stand against men and be more immature than they already are. Get heady with some useless information to get some shitty job. And we got tons of women that fail to realize there's something called eternity. They're living for now, they're living for themselves, and they think that God's got their back because they've emotionally made themselves feel and believe that God favors them just like society does. disgusting. Most women are not doing anything that enhances or betters society. They're not raising children that fear God, respect authority. Women are sitting here condemning us, judging us, putting us down instead of teaching kids the importance and value of male and female. They've exalted women over and against us. Paul's assessment of women is not the same as modern women's assessment is of themselves. Paul says women need to keep their silence in the church. The man is the head of the house. Christ is head of the church. Now you got women calling themselves pastors. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Black female women calling themselves pastors. Complete disobedience to Scripture. The overseer, the bishop, must be the husband of one wife. He must not be a lover of money. He must have his children in subjection. He must have a good reputation. He must not be given into drunkenness. Notice the pronouns are he. It doesn't say she must be the wife of one husband. Women change everything. They take thus saith the Lord and, well, it doesn't really mean that. It's open to interpretation. No, honey, it's not open to your interpretation. But go ahead and be the rebel and the Jezebel you are. Jezebel's a historical figure. She was a nasty woman, but the spirit of Jezebel exists in most American women. When I have a woman that's not even my wife, not even my girlfriend, she makes more than I do. She's a professional, and she's fixing me food. When she says, do you need help? I was putting the tub surround up on the ceiling. I had lowered the ceiling, meaning I built a frame and lowered the ceiling to make the bathtub look a little more modernized and professional. I have an old 50s tub where the porcelain's getting a little thin and the black iron is showing, but I don't care. The tub is good, and I'm not into all this got to have designer and shower inserts, and I got the Loctite adhesive and swiggled the outside in and then did the crisscross, and by myself, I said, man, I just need your moral support. That's all. I was married to a wife who did not go out of her way to cook good food for me. She cooked once in a while. She wasn't innovative. This woman has put together some what I call goulashes that were just awesome. And I said to her, I said, what's funny is and she knows where I stand on women. She goes, what you're saying is the truth. She said, they're entitled. We live in a world, folks, where these women are not changing. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. And the sad thing is we have a biology, we have a sex drive. And I'm going to say something as I get older. It angers me that sex drive really gets in the way of sober focus. And people can go on about no fap, whatever. Man, rub one out and focus. Once you get that damn drunken state of lust out of you, you can focus. Okay, I got to get this project done. And I do not ascribe to the modern Christian screaming and yelling about men whacking their noodle. I just don't. The Christian church has its own set of maladies, dysfunctions, and screwed upness. That's why you see nothing but older people in these churches. And you see the only churches that young people are going to are big box churches, which are perverting the word, and cult personas that amass a huge following and tons of money. People are dumb. They always get behind a movement that really isn't based in the Holy Ghost. And I'm not perfect. I made many mistakes. All of you all know about it. It's been out there. Me, Maharani, my lust, my problems, my this, my that. And I don't care because I'm not here to represent a perfect touchstone for the Christian faith in that I've got it all together. The Bible says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. We don't work for salvation, but we're supposed to work it out. And part of that shows a lot of ugly stuff, just like David. David was called a man after God's own heart. Okay. Standing up there on his portico going, oh, look at that chickie. Hey, go get her. Me gonna mum with her. We all know it's about Bathsheba. More men can be more honest than women. Remember the song by the guy who recently passed? Stepped on a pop top, blew out my flip flop. Na 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 na, to cruise on back home. Some people say that there's a woman to blame, but I know it's my own damn fault. I've admitted it. I can't blame my ex-wife of 14 years. It's my fault that I married her in 5 weeks. I start right there. I'm to blame. She is too. She had a part in that. You rush into anything, you reap the whirlwind. If you can't slow down and wait on God, you know it's of the flesh or it's of the devil. Just like when you go to a car dealership, they want you to hurry up and sign. Now think it through, read the fine print, ask questions. If they don't want to give you the time to do that, pick your hiney out of that chair and walk on. I haven't dated in 6 years. I'd like to date somebody, but let's see. These are my choices. Jump in a boiling vat of oil, jump in that battery acid that's on fire over there. If you go in this room, you get every infectious disease known to man, and you only get to pick one of 3 doors. How about if I don't go through any of them and go down the hall and get the hell on out of here? My cousin and I used to have a term for certain people in our family. We'd say planet and their name. Planet women is a foreign Martian landscape. They don't think the way we do. They never will. What turns them on, turns their crank, the conversations they have. We men will put aside all of our form and fiber, all because we're attracted to somebody. But if you step outside your lust and look at them, you ask yourself, what have they really got? Other than a set of pokies that I really need to have. The beauty and the attraction, and women are pouring that on. They're dressing provocatively. Women are sexy, but they're not sensual. Women put it out there, but they're not passionate. They're just cheap. The slut teases. They're eye candy. They have no personality. They have no depth of soul. They're going to go after the one that gives them the most attention, the most hearts, the most likes. The ego boost. And there's nothing more satisfying when I walk into a place and a woman uses some tone with me. And I'm like, why is she giving me tone? I just asked a question. Okay, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm a customer. I was looking for an answer to the question. I'll just go elsewhere. I made a point, whether they'll admit it or not. Oh, he just told you. You don't get into the haranguing with these biatches. Ignore them. Look around, over, and through them. Deal with them only on a professional level. Excuse me, sir, can you tell me? Yes, it's right down here. You take a left. Thank you very much. No problem. Have a good day. Do not get emotional. Do not get attached. Do not be personal or personable. Do not open up your trench coat and let them inside. And I'm not talking about sex. Be cold to them. Communicate to them in your own way that I have no need of, nor do I want you. and stand back and watch what happens. Sometimes they'll be nicer. Sometimes they'll drop their little jaded guard. Sometimes they won't. Men need to be in control, not women. You can't control women, don't try. Control you, thus controlling them. I don't care who you are. I don't care how hot you think you are. I'm not buying it. I don't care if you were a freaking teenage cheerleader. One of the stupidest songs I've ever heard. I think it's by a black artist, and you cannot understand what he's saying. It sounds like he's saying, I think that I found my derriere. The word and the grammar is not crystal clear. I think that I have found my cheerleader. Now, it'd be nice if we had a woman that was our cheerleader. Rah, rah, rah. Who are we going to fight for? My boyfriend, my husband. But you don't want to marry a cheerleader mentality. You don't want to date that. You men do not want to date a woman who's all about herself and her ego, and you got to compliment and stroke her all day long. That is a problem. Because she'll eventually get tired of you and look for her likes and hearts somewhere else. Social media has become the surrogate papa for women. It has become the altar by which they can lay themselves out and do whatever they want, post their dinners, their dog, and their slut teasiness, and get a whole bunch of followers and treat us like a meat market. Have a good day, everybody.